Hello folks, Fuzzy Pixels here, and welcome to a little review of Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, Horizon Zero Dawn is the best game that Guerrilla Games have made, and it's not that the Killzone series is bad, far from it, but with Horizon, the studio has truly established an IP that it can be really proud of. It's one of the best in recent memory. It's an expansive, open-world adventure. Horizon Zero Dawn is part Tomb Raider, part Assassin's Creed in terms of its action, with its far-flung post-apocalyptic setting, a mix of Jurassic Park and The Last of Us by way of Transformers. And it's a glorious melting pot of influences and flavours, one that brilliantly juxtaposes lush natural environments and tribal culture with flashes of futuristic technology and some heady science fiction. It helps that Horizon is one of the best looking games that I've ever seen. I mean, I frequently found myself coming to a halt just to admire the vistas, the breathtaking views, the gentle sway of grasses in the breeze. I mean, the weather can change at a moment's notice, and I'm not ashamed to say that the first time it rained, I spent several minutes just admiring how the water fell and splashing about in puddles, because why wouldn't you? The end of the world has formed the basis for many games over the years, but few have captured the aftermath of the apocalypse with such gorgeous grace as Guerrilla have here. The scene is set in the far-flung future on an Earth reclaimed by nature, where human tribes scrabble for survival in the shadows of vast mountains and the remnants of long-lost civilizations. The Nora, a matriarchal tribe, huddle in the shadow of a towering escarpment at the top of which sits the corpse of a metal devil, the dormant remains of a huge, tentacular war machine. The Kaja to the west holds sway in lands with a bright city of spires and palaces at their core, their dark history making relations with the neighbours a little bit tense. Amongst all of this, beasts of steel and spark roam freely, from the raptor-like watchers to larger mechanical monsters that resemble giant crocodiles, fearsome saw-toothed felines, and a whole bunch more. And they all attack on sight, even those that take the form of herbivores and cattle. These machines, along with roaming bandits and outcast zealots, make the wilds a perilous place to journey. And into this crucible steps Aloy, a former Nora outcast obsessed with a single burning question: who is her mother? And that marries together with the core of the question in our hearts, which is, how did the world come to be this way? Aloy is phenomenally skilled. She's implacably brave. She's possessed with a quick, dry wit to match her driving inquisitiveness. And I mentioned Tomb Raider before, and there are certain parallels between Aloy and the modern incarnation of Lara Croft. Both are incredibly adept with a bow and arrow. They both forage for useful resources and craft what they need on the fly. Both plumb dangerous depths of historied caverns to uncover the secrets within, and the smooth, acrobatic verticality that they both possess owe more than a nod to Messrs. Drake and Auditore. But Aloy is the complete package. She's a huntress, trained from the moment she could physically hold a bow. All she has ever known is the wilderness around her, that and the paternal care of her mentor, Rost. All of this makes for a very capable, very likeable character to whom players can add compassionate or vengeful twists with certain dialogue choices. Now, these conversation wheels will not make a difference in terms of BioWare-esque grand consequences, but they do allow for a spot of role-playing as we shape the very tiny details of Aloy's character. And though perhaps a little limiting given the physical expansiveness of the game, it does make sense. This is not an RPG, not really, but don't let that dissuade you. This is expansive action adventuring at its very best, focused on the journey of one very special woman. Horizon Zero Dawn unfolds as a grand journey of exploration, tactical combat, and no small amount of stealth. Long grass provides cover for Aloy as she makes her way around the world, and the various arrows and slingshot bombs that serve to deal damage, lay traps, and dish out environmental afflictions. The perils of the world make every single journey an adventure. Combat is a strategic affair, and Aloy is quite fragile, but well armed. A device picked up early on allows her to scan enemies for weaknesses, and a handy whistle will attract foes into the long grasses, where they can be dispatched pretty quietly, the smaller ones. Anyway, fire-spewing theropods and other larger steel-clad deathbringers do require a little bit more planning. Unlockable skills will allow Aloy to notch more arrows to her bow, strike harder with her spear, and dodge attacks with greater precision. Resistance potions can be crafted from flowers found around the game world, and tripwires and sticky bombs manufactured from the remains of the machines that Aloy defeats. Now, I must admit to being a little disappointed, though, by the game's shallow approach to customization and equipment upgrades. Although combat works really well, there's really not much reward in the gifts that your fallen adversaries leave behind. You're rarely out of pocket, and the modifications that you can pick up for your weapons and armour, they're not exactly thrilling. Not once did I find Horizon eliciting the same kind of euphoric response that I get from something like, say, Borderlands, and even the best armour in the game, which you can kind of stumble across early on, is sort of superfluous by the time you can actually loop back and unlock it. By the time I was halfway through the game, I'd stopped paying attention to anything that wasn't a health potion or blaze, to be honest, which forms the basis for crafting most of the fiery or explosive projectiles. That being said, because Horizon never really makes itself out to be an RPG except in scope, that didn't bother me too much. Instead of dishing out new toys all the way through the game, the machines simply get bigger and badder. You really have to buy into Horizon's combat mechanisms and think your way around the increasingly dangerous encounters, and while that may seem a little bit stagnant for some, and I can actually totally understand how that might be the case, for me it just never became an issue. I can still remember barely making it through my first battle with a Thunderjaw, and the breathless sense of achievement that came afterwards, and you throw one or two more of those into the mix, it's seat of the pants stuff. Now, although Horizon does contain glorified eagle vision in the form of the little focus earpiece that Aloy plucks from an old ruin very early on, it does at least have some rooting in reality. You can pick out enemies at a distance and through walls, and scan machines for weaknesses and so on, track footprints and patrol paths, the usual stuff. But given the futuristic setting, the suspension of disbelief in this game isn't quite as jarring in this case, and indeed the capabilities of the focus do become a key aspect in the game's story later on. Speaking of which, Horizon is a story of discovery, so I won't go too deeply into the narrative here, but part of what makes the game great is the persistent dramatic irony, right? We can identify and comprehend some of the ruins of this world before Aloy realises their true significance, precisely because we players currently inhabit, in the real world, the lost old world. The fragments of that fallen civilization are well known to us, but the reasons behind the fall are not. And although we can give greater meaning to the relics of ages past than Aloy and her peers can, our journey of understanding as to the reasons why this has all happened parallel hers. It's a joy to watch her develop as a character, from spiky outcast with a chip on her shoulder to something of a child of destiny who accepts the weight of the world on her shoulders. And Aloy manages to be a character with near boundless capability, but she carries questions and fears and feelings that make her vulnerable and, crucially, relatable. Later on, she encounters a character named Silence, played by the excellent Lance Reddick, with a thirst for knowledge that exceeds even her own curiosity, and the relationship between the two really brings out Aloy's overriding concern for her people more and more, specifically her fears over what she is learning means for the world around her. She's an inspirational hero, curious yet conscientious, passionate yet thoughtful, and her interactions with Silence reveal a dry humour and a capacity for some nice pithy asides. She's destined to become a PlayStation icon, and maybe she already is. Now, often by the time that I reach the end of a massive open world game, I'm done, right? I'm not a completionist sort of guy, I'm very easily distracted and frustrated, but I sit here after 35 hours at a 51% completion screen, itching to dive back in to Horizon Zero Dawn. And once you finish the main story, the game returns you to a point in time just before the final battle, with all your gear and skills and any unfinished side quests that you might have. And it's actually in this time, the post-game, that Horizon shines most brilliantly, with you free to take down machines that maybe previously seemed a little too perilous to approach, exploring to the very edges of the map and letting curiosity really be your guide. There's so much rich detail packed into this new world of Guerrilla's creation, and Aloy is such splendid company that, returning to the game feels more like time spent with a good friend than it does trophy chasing, and I can count on one hand the number of games that have elicited that feeling in me in the last few years. Put simply, Horizon Zero Dawn is a brilliant, beautiful and bold action-adventure. And with this expansive and ambitious game, Guerrilla, they finally have a masterpiece of their name, and an Aloy, a PlayStation legend in the making. It doesn't reinvent the wheel in terms of expansive action-adventure games. It just does everything very, very well indeed, and presents us with a new world that I cannot wait to explore more of. So those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you already have the game? What do you make of it already? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think? Let me know. And if you haven't got it, will you be getting it? Will you be getting it based off this review? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. There are a couple of extra links up at the side of my head. I will see you guys very, very soon. Take it easy, folks, and stay awesome. Cheers. Bye.